Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. This is the Southeast Quadrant Virtual Preparedness Town Hall, and we're going to begin in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for a few more participants to join us, so we'll be kicking off in just a minute.
Debbie. There's Debbie.
I did it, y'all.
I love
Great to see your face, Debbie.
I had to reset my account.
Join the party.
All right, well, it's 4:02 now, and I think we are ready to kick this off. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Southeast Quadrant Virtual Preparedness Town Hall. I'm Haley Randall. I'm the Program Assistant for the Zoo Aquarium All Hazards Partnership. And before we begin, I'm just going to go through a few logistical reminders. All the participants have been muted upon entry, and we're asking you to remain muted throughout the informational portion of the webinar. You will be able to unmute yourself during breakout sessions and other interactive components of the meeting. And we invite you to participate through the chat if you would like. You can submit questions and comments through the Q&A feature and through the chat box, and you can access those features at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to enable a live transcript for the webinar, and if you'd like to disable this feature, you will be able to click the caret also at the bottom of the screen, and you can turn that off if you would like. The presentation portions of this webinar by Dr. Anna Allen are going to be recorded for archival purposes only. The interactive components and breakout sessions of this webinar will not be recorded. I will be available to assist you throughout the webinar and during breakout rooms. So if you have any technical difficulties, please message me and I will do my best to assist you. And I am now going to turn it over to Sharon Stewart, who is going to kick us off and introduce our plenary speaker, if you will, Dr. Anna Allen.
Okay, so Anna, maybe you can just wave. I think your name's showing up. There's Anna. Anna is a veterinarian with the Emergency Programs Division for North Carolina Department of Agriculture. I had the pleasure of working with her. She was one of the first veterinarians in our program to do what's called special collections, developed a plan and worked together with other staff members who were veterinarians and emergency planners to put that in place. So she has a keen interest in this and a lot of great knowledge. So Anna will be the first speaker, and Haley, I don't know if you want me to run through the agenda very quickly or just to leave it there and let Anna go ahead.
Sure, you can feel free to give a little summary of our meeting for today, Sharon.
Yeah, so at the end of Anna's presentation, she's going to see if some people want to speak just for very brief minutes and answer some questions about where they may be in terms of development of emergency response programs. So she'll handle that part. Then we'll break out into the virtual breakout rooms for about 20 minutes. And then we will be given, the facilitators will be given a notice a few minutes before that needs to end. And then we'll all be brought back together virtually and have a little Q&A to bring together some of the topics that you think are most important in your area or at your facility. So with that, I'm going to stop and hand it over to Dr. Anna Allen.
Hi, everyone. It is such a privilege to be able to speak to y'all today. I'm going to share a presentation with you. Can y'all see that? I'll put it in slideshow mode. So this is really, this presentation is primarily to keep me on track today. So what I hope to do today, I know I have a wide variety of folks in the audience with a wide variety of backgrounds and technical expertise and all that kind of stuff. So some of the things that I say to you may seem like old hat, and some the things that I may say to others, they may be like, oh, I hadn't thought about that, or I didn't know that. So I hope that it's helpful for you, and I hope that there's at least a little something to learn from what I share with you today. And again, this is focusing on natural disaster preparedness and response. And I'm really speaking just from a state ESF 11 perspective. So just a state animal and agriculture planning and response perspective. So I do have that type of background. I have a public health background, a veterinary background, and then like Sharon said, I do have some experience doing planning and preparedness and things like that for the captive wildlife community. So I was asked to share kind of a top 5 things to think about, or things to know, or things that folks coming from my perspective want you all to know about natural disaster preparedness and response. And I'm going to go through a slide for each of these, but know who's in charge of disaster response, how disaster response works, and how to request the assistance that you need. Make a plan. Have MOUs in place with organizations, people, facilities that can help you. Choose a person to communicate with the authorities. That should ideally be one person, but we'll talk about when it can be more than one person. And regularly communicate with the folks that are in charge and with the folks that are going to help you. So regular communication during a disaster, and some type of regular correspondence or communication during blue skies or during peacetime. So I put this as number 1. I think this is one of the most important things to understand, be aware of, and kind of take charge on, is to understand in your world who is in charge of disaster response in your locality, in your state. So for North Carolina, for natural disasters, the local/county emergency managers are who is in charge first. And it is only when they are overwhelmed, either they need more people, resources, or whatever, it is only when the county is overwhelmed that they request assistance from the state. And that goes for anything in a natural disaster. So we as state responders do not even go into the county to assist unless we receive a request. And that request has to be documented in a database system that we use, WebEOC. All of that has to happen. Now, there can be a ton of phone conversations going on in the background, emails, whatever, but until that mission comes through in an official way, nobody's going out there, okay? So that's North Carolina, maybe similar or different in whatever state you're located in, but it is important to know who is in charge. There's a variety of ways that the authorities in charge of handling the disaster will get help. Sometimes they'll request help from the state or from another state. Sometimes a county may just share resources across county lines or with another county and may not involve the state at all. So it's important to know how your county is kind of thinking, how they're geared towards asking for help. It's important to understand their perspective and their priorities and how they handle things. And again, if the request is animal or agriculture related, that falls under Emergency Support Function 11, and that's going to come in North Carolina. That's going to come to the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. And we're going to reach interagency, use a lot of other agencies, a lot of other partnerships throughout the state to help us with that mission, because at the Department of Agriculture, we certainly don't have all of the personnel, all of the resources, or all of the expertise to help everybody. So we are very reliant on partnerships that we work on and build all the time to supplement us should we have to respond to something. So when we can, we do respond with department resources. And when we don't have department resources to put towards a mission, we have a lot of MOUs, again, a lot of relationships with a lot of different agencies, a lot of different facilities in our state and other states that we're going to immediately reach to. So we have a lot of MOUs, again, and folks that we talk to all the time. Again, we are constantly building those relationships so that when something does happen, we know immediately who we need to call. Make a plan. Very simple, but it is really important. That's what we spend a lot of time doing that when we're not actively responding to a disaster. We are planning for what might happen. And you base your disaster planning on what is kind of, you make a hierarchy of the things that are most likely to affect your facility, as well as things that would be so catastrophic that they need specialized planning. Some states may have written in some laws somewhere. I know one of my colleagues from Florida shared with me that Florida does have some laws on the books that require some types of facilities to have emergency plans and to have those emergency plans reviewed. North Carolina doesn't have anything like that specifically for the exotic animals or captive wildlife communities. But again, other regulatory agencies that you may deal with, or if you're in another state, it's important to know whether or not you are required to have some kind of plan. And this planning is a coordinated effort between subject matter experts. So you need folks that are experienced with emergency management to come in and share their expertise in how an incident is managed holistically. And then we need folks from the exotic and managed wildlife community to help us understand what types of resources we are most likely going to see requests come through for, so that we can figure out what type of other partners we need to partner with. And so again, this is what we do in peacetime, regular meetings, regular communication about what it is that everyone is likely to need, so that we can try and plan for it. MOUs, really important to have these, lots of templates available and existing out there. It's important to have these with anybody that is going to help you out in a disaster, to have an understanding of what your capabilities are, what you may be able to offer someone in terms of personnel, resources, or even just-in-time guidance on the phone, what gaps you have. Go out and who are you going to ask for help? Make sure that you know what they have, and get that written down somewhere, and then regularly update those, keep those up to date, because as turnover happens with personnel, whoever originally wrote that MOU 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you need to make sure it still applies, make sure everybody's still on the same page. So checking in with partners every couple of years, is there anything we need to change about this MOU? So that it's there when you need it. So facilities in your own state, facilities in other states that may be able to bring in really specialized resources for you, and then NGOs that have training and resources that you might want to use. Those are all the types of other entities that you might want to get into an MOU with. Choose your people. So choose the person with your organization that is going to be the primary point of contact with the authorities. So when we go into disaster response mode, we need to know the one person that we can get in touch with to communicate what's going on, or to ask what's going on at their facility. We need to know who that person is. And so it's good to choose that person, someone that you're comfortable with, someone that can make decisions on behalf of your organization, someone with that kind of authority, that should be the person that should be communicating with the disaster response authorities. That person will likely need to be in communication with local emergency management as well as state emergency responders as well. So make sure that you choose that person wisely. If you're using ICS, if you're using the incident command system on a semi-daily basis, or you understand what that is and are using that as part of your planning and part of your response plan, then the person that I'm talking about could be your incident commander. Maybe that's the person that you want to be communicating with the other authorities, but you might have enough folks in your organization structure that you can assign a liaison officer. So maybe it's not necessarily your incident commander. You may have somebody else that you can assign to do that communication piece with the other agencies. That's how we do that in our incident management team. Our incident commander is not necessarily the one calling everybody. Our liaison officer is in charge of that. And then again, it just depends on how robust your organization is. You'll want to choose someone to be an information officer. And maybe it's the same person doing the other activity as well. Maybe you have one person with 3 jobs, and that's totally fine. We all understand what that's like. But if you do have a separate information officer, you're going to want to make sure that that person is very tied in to the whole public information sharing system that can go along with a large event. So making sure that that you are getting the message about your facility, the message that you want shared about your facility, tied in with the public messaging that's going out. So again, this person will be in regular communication with all of the other public information folks from other agencies. And regular communications. So during a disaster response, anybody who's been involved in that before on a large scale knows that we are just going to stack up the conference calls all day long, starting at about 7 a.m. and going to about 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And we have to figure out when we're going to stagger those calls so that we can get in touch with everybody. Here at the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, when we set up a large incident management team, we are setting up those conference calls with different partner groups. So we're setting up a regular standing conference call every day with all of our different partner groups individually, so that we can catch all of that information and bring it back to help us understand what's going on with everybody. But those regular, and so you have to figure out which of those calls that you might want to be on, or if you even need to be on a call. And you've got to make sure that the entity that's hosting those calls knows that you want to be on them. And it can sometimes be hard to jump onto that and jump into that when a disaster is occurring. And so what you want to be doing is during regular time, during planning and preparedness time, that you're finding out how the incident management team at the state or the county is set up, finding out who's hosting the sorts of calls that you want to be on, and making sure that you're building the relationship with that person, getting on their email list, so that when they go, when something happens and they go to set up that call, that you're automatically notified of when that call is going to be. So again, you're most likely going to need to be tied in with someone at the local level as well as the state level. And it does happen that those calls conflict with one another. And so that's why maybe you want to choose a couple of different people, so that if there are simultaneous informational calls going on, that you can have someone on each one. So you're staying tied into everything. And again, these regular communications just help everybody understand what everyone's capabilities are, what you can bring to the table during an incident, where your gaps are. So, planners like to know what are the most likely things that we're going to get requested to help with, and then personnel. we want to know who, you want to know who you're talking to on the phone, and we want to know who we're talking to on the phone when we set up those calls. So, we always say ad nauseum in the emergency management world that, you don't want to be handing out business cards at the time of the incident. So setting up, a regular working group or a regular time, even that you just set it up on your calendar that a couple times a year you check in with, with your local emergency manager or with your state emergency planner, and you just have a conversation. That's really nice. So, and that is what I have for my kind of top pieces there. So I'm happy to take questions, or I think we're going to handle all those in the chat room, break room, sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Allen. That was a wonderful presentation. And like Anna said, we can take if there's any immediate questions regarding the content that she just presented. We're happy to take those now. You can also save those until the end. Otherwise, we will begin breaking up into our breakout sessions. So do we have any questions? You're welcome to use the chat box or feel free to just speak up.
This is Yvonne. I guess, were there any terms that Dr. Allen used that people aren't familiar with? And if so, just make sure to bring it up in the breakout sessions, and we'll be happy to explain those a little bit to you. I mean, I recognize a lot of names on this call. I think many of you have a really good understanding of a lot of what we're talking about today, but just in case, do not feel, discouraged if you don't know some of the terms that have been used. And again, I think she did a great job explaining that what her experience is in North Carolina may not be exactly what you might experience in your state. And so when we go into those breakouts, we'll try to dig down into those details a little bit.
All right, great. Well, it looks like we have no more questions so far. So as Yvonne said, we will be breaking up into breakout rooms, and we're going to split those up by state just to make it a little bit more digestible. So we have Yvonne and we have Richard. They are going to be taking everyone from Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama, and they will be facilitating for that group. We have Dr. Allen and Vanessa Sims. They will be facilitating for North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And then we have Sharon Stewart and Debbie Ford, and they will be facilitating for Maryland, Missouri, New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. And I will be opening up those breakout rooms shortly. You'll need to bear with me because there's a lot going on. But if you are from a state that you did not hear called and you did not see represented, please put it in the chat and I will assign you accordingly. But I think hopefully we have everyone accounted for.
How long do you think that might take, Haley?
So I am just creating these groups right now. I'm going to open those up in just a minute. And we're going to have about 20 minutes for everyone in their breakout groups where they'll be able to discuss and have some conversation. And then afterwards, we will all come back together and we will all share out and give some of our updates. So those should be open in just 1 minute. Thank you everyone for bearing with me. All right, so all of the breakout rooms have been opened up, and I'm just going to go back through those again, hopefully. So we have room 1, that is going to be for Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama. And again, that is with Debbie and Sharon. We have room 2, which is North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. That is with Dr. Allen and Vanessa. And then we have room 3, which is for room 3 is for Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama. That is with Yvonne and Richard. And our first room, sorry for the confusion, is for Maryland, Missouri, New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. That is with Debbie and Sharon. And I'll be remaining in this chat room if you have any questions. Just when you go into your breakout rooms, just ensure that you are in the correct room. And if you need help being directed to the correct room, please let me know and I will be happy to help you with that.
We're going to be automatically moved to our rooms, yes?
You will have to self-select your room.
Okay.
If you need any help finding where to go, I'm happy to direct you to the correct room.
I've never chosen my own breakout room, so I assume there's a button to pick somewhere.
There should be. It should be opened up to everybody. And I see we have some people who have just joined the session. So welcome, Robert. We are going into our breakout rooms right now based on state. So we have room 1. Oh, and let's see. So we have room 1, that is for Maryland, Missouri, New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. We have room 2, that is for North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And then we have room 3, that is for Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama. And Mike, are you having any issues? Can I help you with anything?
I have no options. I'm just looking.
Oh, okay. Let's see. You would be going for Texas, correct? I can move you to Texas
for now.
All righty, we're moving you to Texas, Mike. So let me know if you get an invitation.
I just got an invitation. Thank you.
Perfect. And then Robert, can I assist you with anything?
I'm trying to get there.
Sure. What? You're from Alabama, it looks like. Can I move you to the Alabama room? Let's see.